is a sample of fiber optic cable. We use this at Live Air to deliver broadband internet to rural America and run our backbone network between the metro cities of Texas and the nation. I'm James Breeden. I'm the Chief Technology Officer and founder of Live Air Networks. We're based in Smithville. We do broadband internet access for homes and businesses throughout Central Texas, all the way from Austin to Houston. We're proud to be one of the region's largest fiber optic networks with over 600 miles of fiber optics serving customers with services up to and including gigabit to the home. So that's a single mode fiber optic. We're using a red 650 nanometer light on it, normally used for troubleshooting. That enables us to isolate where any faults are in the cable. Obviously real good for show and tell. But normally we use an invisible light that moves a lot of data. We can move up to 8 terabits of data through one strand of fiber in long haul mode. Wow. We're here because we believe in the engineering and science education, and because without educating our youth today, we can't continue to grow and have quality local people to help us grow our business in the long term.
My name is Marguerite Erickson, and I am a mentor for the Bastrop Robotics team. We are a team of about 30 people, mentors from the community, so engineers from BLW Security Group and Cuba Systems and every people in Bastrop, reaching out to high school students. And the high school students compete in First Robotics, which is a 6-week period where they build a 120-pound robot out of metal and literally anything you can get together from Home Depot. The school helps to sponsor us, and we compete in games. So that's what we do. This behind me is SteamFest, which is an outreach effort for science and technology in our community. There are tons of people in Bastrop who have high-tech jobs. There's Bluebonnet Electric Corp who gets electricity to our houses, and there's MD Anderson Cancer Center in our own community. So we have reached out to professionals who have science and technology backgrounds, and they are here to celebrate the field of science and technology. So this event is free for the community. It is held once a year. It is always the last Thursday in January. So every year, the last Thursday in January is SteamFest, and it's free. There's people of all ages, family friendly, little elementary school kids, high school kids can get extra credit in math and science. I helped found the First Robotics team here. We've been going for 4 years, and this event, SteamFest, has been going for 3. I know that McKinney Ruff's Nature Park brought a snake, so that is pretty cool. I know that you definitely want to check out our robotics team, which is on the stage. Our robot is halfway finished. We're kind of halfway through the build season. MD Anderson Cancer Center has some great samples of things that they do, as well as the high-tech consortium over there has a Van der Graaf, and there's lots of electrical engineers and so forth.
So I'm Dr. David Johnson. I work at MD Anderson Cancer Center, Science Park, outside of Smithville. I'm a scientist and professor there, and I also direct a summer program for high school students. So I'm here to advertise our summer program for high school students and try to recruit. Yeah, it's a 10-week program where students come in and they get to do hands-on research. They work in a lab full-time, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. At the end of the 10 weeks, they give a presentation on their program to the faculty and staff of the Cancer Center, and it's a fun thing to do, and you learn a lot about science and cancer research, and it looks good on a college application. Yeah, I've talked to a couple of teachers who know some students and other students who seem to be interested in the program, yes. This is my second year. I was here last year as well. It's a great event, and we really like to participate. We're outside of Smithville, but the program's for anybody in Bastrop County.
Hi, I'm Beth Chaffee. I'm from MD Anderson Cancer Center here in Bastrop. We're here tonight showing the students about different careers in science, and particularly in the pathology laboratory, which is where us three ladies work. So we've got some blood smears, we've got some bacterial cultures, we've got some pipetting, just showing the kids a little bit about what we do and the research we do and the cancer treatments that we develop, and that's about it. Yeah, I think everybody really enjoys looking at the grasshoppers and the teeth and the blood and seeing everything under the microscope.
This is our robot. So this year we're accomplishing the task of going over several obstacles that are a part of the game, and we're going to pick up and launch a ball of this size, and we're going to do that by using programming and electrical and a bunch of fun stuff. It may seem hard at first, but it's actually quite simple once you get the hang of it. This is our first version, and since we have 6 weeks to build it, and it's only been 2 weeks, we have plenty of time. And since we've constructed this in under 2 weeks, so after school we stay from 5 to 6, and that's after school. We have to go to tutorials, so we can actually keep our grades up to B in robotics, because it's a fun thing to do and you wouldn't want to miss out on it. Electrical, it powers everything, and without electrical nothing would work. And we program it, and it helps all the individual parts work separately. Winter, could you demonstrate? So this is our prototype mechanism for picking up the balls. So it'd be able to pick it up, and please spit it out. And there's a high goal and a low goal, so if we wanted to shoot it in the low goal, we would just simply reverse the motor, and it would spit it out into the low goal. But eventually we'll have a ramp with wheels similar to this on it, and it'll ramp up at a 45-degree angle, and it will shoot it out of a cannon of sorts. So the game this year is called Stronghold, and it's based around medieval castles. So there is a 7-foot high goal, which is the high goal, and you have defenses on each side of the field. So you have your enemies, and you're on your enemy's side, and you're trying to score in their tower, and you try to conquer the defenses on their side, which you pick, the audience picks, and your enemies pick it as well. So it's just a bunch of crazy stuff. So there's one defense that is always there that we are trying to build it specifically for to conquer, because it's going to be there 100% of the time. It's called the low bar. The low bar is 1 foot 6 inches, and we're going to build our robot 1 foot 3 inches in order to compensate, because it's up on a lip. So we'd have to drive over, and we'd have to compensate for the lift on the ramp. Every team has a different design. No one is the same. They may have the same basic idea, and they're different in every way, shape, and form. They send us a specified kit that we can use if we're restricted on some items, but like the school provides us with parts, and we can machine our own parts, and we can just make stuff in our own classroom. We haven't specifically machined parts yet with the big CNC machines, but with the 80/20 we've cut it, we've drilled in it, we've done a bunch of stuff with it, and with this, with our plates and stuff, we've used it a bunch of different ways. Yes, it is quite good. In our first year we went to Worlds, but we did not win, unfortunately.
You are on that team?
No, I'm a sophomore, so I've been on the team since last year.
Yeah, okay. And how long has the team existed?
The team has existed for around 6 years. This is SteamFest. It promotes STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. And we have all of these presenters here to show you what they do in order to get you interested in some of the fields. We promote a wide range of things. There's architecture, there's programming, there's chemical engineering, there's security systems, there's flight, there's things for military, there's a bunch of different things you can do.
All of this is called paragliding, and the difference is one's got a motor and one doesn't rely on a motor, okay? It has a different way to get altitude. This one, I could go out to a football field, any football field, and as long as there weren't any obstructions around, I could take off, as long as the wind conditions, the weather was right, I could take off with this. For this one, I have to be creative here in Texas. I can either try to jump off a hill someplace, or I can be towed up with a long line up to about 2,000 feet, and then I disconnect myself from the line, and I just like, you ever see the birds circling in the air? You know what they're doing? They're riding thermals as lift up high and higher. And we can do the same thing without a motor, just paragliding. So we can go higher and higher and higher.
You said being towed up by what sort of?
A special designed winch that lets out anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 feet of line, and it goes and it moves and it pulls you up, and you get about 2,000 feet. My name is Ralph Ladd, and I've been flying paragliders for about 2 years now. And I fly both using a motor as well as with free flight. And the beautiful thing about Texas is one of the best places in the world if you want to fly cross country, because we have some of the best wind conditions of any place in the world. In fact, there's world records that are set right here in Texas. Basically, what you do is, with the aid of a motor and a wing, you're going to get airborne, and you're going to try to stay up as long as you'd like to stay up. With free flight, you're going to stay up as long as the wind is creating lift. With a motor, you're going to stay up as long as you have fuel in your tank. So you could stay up about 4 hours with a motor, and for this, you can stay up anywhere from 20 minutes up to about 12 hours if you really have some good conditions. The world record for flying long distance in a paraglider is over 300 miles. So that's a long flight. It's the most fun thing you can possibly even imagine doing. It's like being in a lawn chair at 2,000 feet with nothing in front of you except wide open blue sky and the earth below you. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. There are 2 different national organizations for paragliding. There's the United States Hang Gliding and Paragliding Association for flying without a motor. It's called Free Flight. And there's the United States Power Paragliding Association that governs flight for motor flight, okay? And each of those has an extensive training program where we take somebody brand new to the sport, take him through, usually it takes about 2 weeks with good weather, good conditions, and a lot of flights and a lot of trials with a trained instructor to get them where they can actually be able to fly solo by themselves. There's lots of clubs. There's all of the major cities in Houston, Austin, the Dallas-Fort Worth area have both motor clubs as well as free flight clubs.
Carbon firing?
That's carbon. It's a carbon prop. I got to be honest, you know, everybody's afraid of flight, right? Everybody, the first time your feet leave the ground, you're going to think, this is not natural, this is not normal, right? And it takes about 50 flights before you're actually over just the fear of getting airborne. So I'm an engineer, retired. I was invited here last year, so this is my second year. I'm good friends with Norman, and Norman's kind of a long-time engineer, retired like myself. And so part of what we do in the engineering community is try to give back and try to encourage events like this to encourage people to learn science, technology, engineering, and math. That's what we're here about.
Cool. Perfect.
And believe me, there's a lot of science and technology that goes into this sport.
My name's
Chris. I've been working with Cuba Systems for about a year and a half now. I started right out of high school, and a couple of things we do is we built this robotic arm as kind of an inspiration for the local robotics team to kind of give them a couple ideas on different ways to use the robotic systems. We build circuit boards and design access control peripherals. For the most part, we work for larger corporations and make custom systems. We don't typically do much for the lower end consumers because we don't do household security very much. We definitely don't do installs, we're just manufacturing. So this robotic arm is actually a kit that we had found. It took us about a day to get put together and another day to figure out how to get it all working. And then once that was all said and done, we had sent over to the robotics team here. And one of their members, Mac, actually took a real shining to it and he figured out how to work it. And he definitely had it working pretty well. Some smart kids on the team. So what happened is I was on the robotics team. I was there when we founded it, at least the FRC portion of the team. A year later, my boss came along and he started mentoring for the team. Towards the end of the year, he started asking me if I'd like a job. So the first Monday after graduation, I came in and I started working. Well, I'll do spreadsheets, I'll run pricing, bills of materials, I'll design the circuit boards that we use. We're actually in the middle of phasing out one of our older boards and bringing in a new board. The old board's about 20 years old and we can't find the parts for it anymore, so it's been fun.
So the robotics team, soon after being founded, had a very successful year, isn't that right?
Yeah, actually our first year we had a very kind mentor. The Smithville team that's actually been doing it for a couple of years, and they kind of took us under their wing that first year. And so when we went to our Dallas regional, we were kind of set up, we were doing okay, but what really happened is towards the end of the day, we had really impressed one of the older teams, Team 148, and they've done really well over the years. They've won several of the world championships, and when we were at competition, they decided they wanted us on their teams for the final match. So they carried us through that, and when that was all said and done, we were going to Worlds that year.
Are you seeing a lot of some of the same students still in school that you were in school with?
Definitely a lot of the band kids, because I saw them coming up through the years, and definitely a lot of them that were freshmen and sophomores my senior year are still here, and I've seen plenty of those faces.
Hi there, I'm David Treadwell, and I have a collection of the periodic table of the elements. That I have about 83 different elements, which are all the ones that it really makes sense and is legal for me to have. And I have them arrayed out here on top of my periodic table of the elements shower curtain. So I have samples from way down at the bottom, like osmium, the beautiful blue metal. I have magnesium, a nice shiny light, silvery metal, and everything in between. I have some samples that are famous, and I have some samples that are common. You can probably find a lot of these over at Walmart if you wanted to. I have a separate collection of things I got from Walmart. Most of these came off of eBay or somewhere else on the internet, but I also trade samples with collectors from around the world. And there are also companies that will make samples specifically to sell to people like me. So these are coins of some of the rarer earth elements. This one's terbium and dysprosium and erbium. But I also have things you're more likely to know about, like silver and gold nuggets and silver bars and pieces of copper and things that you see in everyday life and things that you're never going to see in everyday life. But they're all very important to us. Almost everything up here has a use in something that you use every day.
Of what's up here, the most difficult to obtain, or?
Well, it depends. I actually kind of go for more interesting stories behind the samples. Some of the very rare earth elements are exceedingly rare in the this piece of terbium, for instance, is very rare, but it's, on the other hand, you're never going to find any of it. But terbium is much more common in the earth than gold. So this is a really pretty gold nugget, and that was kind of hard to get. But you can just go to eBay and you can find anything you want to fork over the money for. So some of these things are a little harder to get. There's a guy in Russia who has a very fancy furnace that he's able to melt these high melting point elements like tantalum and rhenium and osmium and tungsten. It's very difficult to get those because you got to know the guy that has the ability to make it. So some of these have horrendously high melting points. And because of that, we don't use them for gold, for jewelry. Whereas gold and platinum, even though they have high melting points, are easier to melt and easier to make rings out of. You don't very often see chromium in a whole piece like this, but you see it all the time in car bumpers, at least used to anyway. And you're not going to see tungsten or titanium on the outside of a person. You're going to see more of this on inside of somebody's shoulder or hip bone replacement. So they're all around us, they're just not usually things that you're going to see. The periodic table goes farther than it shows on this shower curtain. And if you can pan over to the left, or my left anyway, is that these elements have been filled in, and they filled in all the way from number 112 all the way out to 118, which is in the bottom left-hand corner. But those aren't going to have any practical use anytime soon. They're so radioactive that they're gone before you even know you've got them hardly. But at least it's nice to know that they're there and have been verified. And someday soon, the scientists who discovered them are going to get to name them. And there'll be new things that will show up on here. Then I'll have to get a new shower curtain. Well, I have a great connection to SteamFest because Ms. Schaefer, who started it here and used to work as the chemistry teacher here, is a friend of mine. We go to church and sing the church choir together. And once a year I come and give a talk to the chemistry classes and bring out all these things and show some videos and let the students hold them and pick them up. The idea is that we want to show them that the periodic table is not just a bunch of symbols up on the wall. It actually is something there. There's a reason that we have all these symbols here, and that CR is not just something that the teacher is making you memorize. There's something to it. And they're important in many ways to the technological world we've got around us.